It's the diagnosis everyone fears, cancer. About 1.7 million Americans will hear that word from their doctor this year. At the State of the Union address, President Obama announced the renewed effort to find a cure, comparing it to putting a man on the moon. It was prompted by Vice President Joe Biden's loss of his son to brain cancer.
I'm putting Joe in charge of mission control. For the loved ones we've all lost, for the families that we can still save, let's make America the country that cures cancer once and for all.
We are so lucky that much of the groundbreaking research and treatment is happening right here in Boston at the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. Dr. Edward Benz, the president and CEO of Dana-Farber, is retiring after 16 years at the helm. So, how has the war on cancer changed over that time? Let's ask the man himself, Dr. Edward Benz. How many days, how many minutes?
About 8 days, 12 minutes, 13
okay, exactly.
seconds.
Okay. What are we able to do in treating cancer today, thanks to Dana-Farber, that we couldn't do when you took over 16 years ago?
Well, we can cure some cancers. Childhood leukemia, 90% cure rate.
What was the percent when you took over?
0. Well, no, when I took over, when I was a medical student, it was 0. When I took over, it was about 45, 50%.
Yeah. What else?
Certain other blood cancers like Hodgkin's disease, testicular cancer. Those were ones we could treat with conventional therapies that were developed decades ago. But what's really changed is the introduction of these targeted therapies based on genetic and genomic analysis of a patient's tumors to find the specific vulnerability of the tumor. And now the most exciting thing is these drugs like Jimmy Carter's drug that open up and unlock the immune system to fight your own cancer.
The thing you mentioned, it's called precision medicine. Is that what it's called? It's sort of a personalized cure that is targeted to exactly what the needs and disease of the individual are, rather than treating it as a generic kind of thing, right?
That's exactly right. Every patient's tumor is a little bit different from everyone else's, and we got to find that unique thing that's going to make a drug work in that patient.
You know, I know at core you're a doctor, but you are a prodigious fundraiser. 50 million to 200 million in donations over your term. I know revenues are up triple to $1 billion. Is that a hard part of the job? I mean, I know what you want to do. You want to teach, you want to do research, you want to help patients. But without the dough, it doesn't happen. How hard is it to do the ask?
You know, fundraising for me is an acquired taste. I've really gotten to love doing many, many parts of it here at the Dana-Farber and the Jimmy Fund because so much of it is events. And I get to mix and mingle with patients and their families and people who've been touched by our work. You know, our faculty and staff are very active in fundraising, so I'm not doing it by myself. But they come back from those energized, because as you can imagine, you take cancer every day of your life, how frustrating that can be to lose patients. Yeah. To be with people who've been cured and people who, even if they weren't cured, appreciate what we've done, energizes us to go back to work and do better the next year.
One of those energizing things, even though not on the day itself, is the PMS Challenge. Right. A person associated with it, Billy Starr, told me that you don't just talk the talk, you walk, well, I guess you didn't walk the walk, you rode the ride. First year you rode, is that true?
The first year I rode, yeah.
And I heard he said your training was an interesting
Yes, I didn't just ride the ride, I wrecked the wreck.
What does that mean?
I wiped out during my training and broke my wrist and got a concussion and injured my shoulders. And so when the ride came, because I was still in a cast, I couldn't do the gears. So I rode the back of a tandem.
Oh, that's great. And who was in the front of the tandem?
This is a guy, Harry Holmes was his name. He's from MD Anderson at the time. He always wanted to ride in this, but to raise money for another cancer institute wasn't the easiest thing. So I said, I've already raised the money.
That's great.
So, and he's a great rider. He taught me how to ride a tandem. And I'll tell you, when you ride 200 miles in the back of a tandem, every half mile somebody yells out, the guy in the back's not pedaling.
What's next on the horizon? I mean, you are going on, well, you're not going, you're doing research or teaching. And I know. What's next on the realistic horizon?
For cancer?
Yes, for cancer.
Yeah, I think what's already happening is many cancers that maybe we can't definitively cure are being turned into chronic diseases, and people are living and living well until the next great treatment comes along. And I think over the course of this next decade, my successors, prime time in office, we're going to see things like certain forms of lung cancer, malignant melanoma, these things that were just out killers, now be compatible in substantial numbers of patients, maybe not everybody, but over half, 2/3, 3/4, that will be able to live 5, 10, 15 15 years. Breast cancer, in many ways, has already become like that. And I think we're going to see cancer as a chronic, manageable disease, not the death sentence that it was just a few years ago.
What are you doing on your last day?
So I have this wonderful way of finishing my time. So my last day is next Friday.
Yeah, I know that.
September 30th. And the last thing I'll be doing is emceeing a meeting for one of our scientists, Bill Kalin, who has won the Lasker Award, the American Nobel Prize,
Oh, that's great.
for work discovering how our mechanisms for sensing oxygen can be subverted to cause cancer.
I know you're a fairly humble soul. Are you proud of the work you've done? You should be. Are you?
Well, I'm proud of the work we have done. You know, it's been a great honor to really run Dana-Farber, to be at the helm. But we have something we call the special sauce, and that is everybody there knows why we're there. They know that the patients we take in ought to be treated like members of our family. And I'm proud to have been a part of that.
And we're proud of you, Doctor.
Thank
you
you
so much.
Thank
Good
you.
luck in the future.